In a decision that left many of us scratching our heads and a few of us wanting to choke on air, Arsenal decided to extend David Luiz's stay at the club beyond the current campaign. It was truly a shocking move on the Gunners' part, especially after the Brazilian played a huge role in his team's 3-0 defeat at the hands of Manchester City. The former Chelsea man was brought on earlier than expected, following an injury to Pablo Mari. First, it was his inability to deal with a Kevin De Bruyne through ball that allowed Raheem Sterling to find the back of the net, and then Luiz bundled over Riyad Mahrez, which forced the referee's hand, who could only ask the reckless defender to go for an early shower. In the fallout to the defeat, it had become evidently clear to pundits and fans alike that David Luiz had no future at the club, and that Mikel Arteta really needs to stop relying on the erratic Brazilian. To his credit, Luiz took full ownership of his mistake, and his manager also never once threw him under the bus for his consistently erratic displays. However, what's really ticked off a lot of fans is the fact that the club still decided to trigger the option of tying down the Brazilian for one more season. Fans are finding it hard to digest why Arteta would go to such lengths for a player whose best days are now behind him. So let's take a look at some of the reasons why the Gunners decided to re-sign the enigma that is David Luiz. COVID-19 and the ensuing financial trouble. If there's one club that's definitely going to tighten the shoestrings around its budget, it is Arsenal. The Gunners are quite notorious when it comes to signing top talent. Apart from the off chance of making a big name acquisition such as Nicolas Pepe, the Londoners don't like spending big sums on talented players. And with COVID pretty much bursting the football bubble, Arsenal cannot afford to sign a world-class defender. Therefore, it becomes necessary to retain players who might still come good, and David Luiz is one of them. Offering the Brazilian a new contract was a much cheaper option than carrying a suitcase full of money all over the world to sign a great defender. Lack of leadership. Ever since the likes of Gilberto Silva, Patrick Vieira and Thierry Henry left Arsenal, the club has never been able to have a leader on and off the field. The club's younger players suffered quite a lot because of a clear lack of players who would help them get better. Per Mertesacker was one player who did really well with the younger players, but the German is now at the club's academy following his retirement. Luiz might not be the same player he used to be a few years ago, but the Brazilian has been a great influence on the club's younger players according to Arteta. In fact, Bukayo Saka, who recently agreed a contract extension at the Emirates, revealed that David Luiz played a huge role in him extending his stay at the club. Right after putting pen to paper on a new contract, the youngster had this to say about David Luiz. He's a big man with a big heart, and he just has so much experience in the game as well. He goes out of his way all the time to advise and help all the young players. I'm sure if you ask them as well, they will tell you how much he is there to support us. He's a very important member of our squad. Clearly, David Luiz might no longer be an automatic starter or the first name on the team sheet, but it's his leadership qualities and dressing room presence that convinced Mikel Arteta into offering him a new deal. Winning mentality. While he never really convinced everyone of his role as a defender, we cannot simply ignore the fact that David Luiz is a winner and a player who has won a lot of trophies in his career. When we talk about Luiz, we usually talk about an error-prone player who might have done much better as a defensive midfielder. Maybe he would have, who knows. But upon closer inspection, Luiz is a serial winner who has never left any club empty-handed. At Benfica, he won the Premier Liga. At Chelsea, he became a Premier League champion, won the FA Cup twice, lifted the Champions League trophy, lifted the Europa League trophy, and was part of FIFA Pro World 11 in 2014, in spite of Brazil's acrimonious exit at the hands of Germany. The way things have turned out for Arsenal, the club is in dire need for someone who wants to win and has the experience of managing expectations. Not many players at Arsenal have that. David Luiz, on the other hand, knows exactly what it takes to become a champion. A great influence on younger players. As we mentioned earlier, Luiz is great at dealing with the younger players and goes beyond his responsibilities to help out the younger players. The likes of Gabriel Martinelli, Saka, Rob Holding, Eddie Nketiah, Matteo Guendouzi, Reece Nelson and Joe Willock are still learning their trade and need guidance from the senior players. Aubameyang might not do that, and Mesut Ozil isn't really the sort of player who'd be able to take a younger player under his wing. Luiz seems to be a player who loves helping younger players, which is something that is essential for a club like Arsenal where the dressing room is full of them. Mentoring William Saliba. Last summer, Arsenal secured the services of the French prospect William Saliba from AS Saint-Etienne. After spending a season on loan in France, the talented defender is back at his parent club and is expected to be used a lot from next season. However, Saliba would definitely need an assuring presence at the club, and this is where Luiz's experience as a player and as a defender would come in very handy. Arteta would expect the Brazilian to help the French protégé acclimatise to the new environment, while also helping him develop into a world-class defender that he's been heralded to be. The big rumour and Luiz connection. If reports in English media are anything to go by, Arsenal are keen on signing Thiago Silva from PSG once the Brazilian's contract expires. For several years, Silva was arguably one of the finest defenders on the planet. And now that he's a free agent, Arteta is reportedly eager to acquire his services. According to French media, Arteta has already started speaking with Silva about a potential move to the Emirates. And it's also been said that Luiz is playing a role in enticing his best bud to reunite with him in London. A few weeks back, Arsenal legend Emmanuel Petit called the decision of extending Luiz's contract a joke. And while on the surface it may appear to be a rather strange move, upon closer inspection it could be a masterstroke by Arteta, as the Spaniard tactician looks to rely on the enigmatic Brazilian for more than just his on-field potential.